Hello, I'm Aidan Hewitt.
I'm Grayson Sokolsky.
I'm Fiona Followers.
I'm Aidan.
For a TED Talk presentation, we wanted to talk about domestic violence. Specifically, we wanted to talk about how domestic violence cases can be misinterpreted or skewed depending on the victim or the reporter of the case. This can happen because the victim might not get the help they need, they might not be treated how well for how serious domestic abuse is, and the abuser might not be punished and therefore continue to abuse the victim. Domestic violence, also known as intimate partner violence, domestic abuse, or relationship abuse, is a pattern of behaving in an intimate relationship used by a partner to continue to have control over the other partner. The Church's view on domestic violence is that violence of any kind is not accepted, and therefore domestic abuse is not accepted. Domestic abuse includes any behavior that arouses fear, physically harms, or prevents a partner from doing what they want, or forces them to do certain things. This includes use of threats and intimidation, physical and sexual violence, emotional abuse, and economic deprivation. Many of these can be occurring during the same time during an intimate relationship. Domestic abuse affects people all the time. Approximately 24 people are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner per minute. More than 12 million men and women over the course of an entire year. Domestic abuse not only affects those who are the victims of the crime, but also family members, friends, co-workers, other witnesses, and the community at large. Children who grow up witnessing domestic violence are among those seriously affected by the crime. A child has witnessed nearly 1 in 4 domestic violence cases filed in court. One study in North America found that children who were exposed to domestic abuse in the home were 15 times more likely to be physically or sexually assaulted than the national average.
Domestic abuse is seen as a woman's issue, but men are also affected. According to thehotline.org, 35.6% of women and 28.5% of men have been affected. Gender roles affect domestic abuse in lots of ways. Many people think only men can abuse and women are victims, but that simply isn't true. There are many problems, but one big thing is men don't realize that they're being domestically abused. When a woman comes forth, there are lots of resources to help her. She is also seen as brave. The opposite is true for men. There are virtually no resources to help him. He gets labeled as weak and is treated as he is a crude joke. The reason men don't get help is because society's anti-masculinity. Overall, cases of men and women getting abused can be completely different or completely the same. We should acknowledge that men also get abused, and we shouldn't treat it as a joke.
Law enforcement is an important tool made available to the public as a resource to contact in case of an emergency. Though it exists in order to serve the people, in some cases gender bias plays into the way certain situations are handled. Domestic violence is an example of a situation in which women are chiefly the victims, and this can affect the way cases are treated and violators are punished. In recent years, evidence collected by the Department of Justice concluded that law enforcement agencies have not been doing their best in attempting to administer justice to all those involved in either domestic or sexual abuse cases. Gender stereotypes have influenced the way victims or abusers are treated by law enforcement, and this form of discrimination demands more publicity. It has been discovered that crimes that incoordinately hurt one gender over another tend to receive less authoritative attention, and some police agencies have even declined to react to these specific cases. Victims in these situations often do not receive enough authoritative protection or services as needed. Domestic violence cases have sometimes been underreported or classified as unfounded, and victims have felt interrogated instead of plainly questioned. This can also apply to same-sex relationships, which have reportedly sometimes not even been classified as real crimes. These situations often receive less authoritative attention, and police are more likely to respond to a heterosexual couple than a same-sex couple. Victims of same-sex abuse are more inclined to resist their provokers, causing law enforcement to address cases as violence among equals. Law enforcement has been responsible for mistreating domestic abuse victims, not administering proper punishments to perpetrators, and improperly classifying abuse cases as family matters, all on the basis of gender bias.
In conclusion, domestic abuse plays a big role in our world today. Many people, whether it is in a relationship with their families, friends, or a spouse, are domestically abused every day. When people get domestically abused, it is hard for them to escape the situation. This is because the abuser usually does not let them leave, or it is dangerous to leave. It is very scary to go through, and it needs to be stopped. However, we cannot fully stop this problem, but we can help prevent it so it does not happen as often. A big way to help is to know the signs of an abuser or the signs of violence. If you see something, say something. Do not just watch and let it happen. Do not put yourself in danger, though. Let the professionals do that. Be there for the victim. Lend an ear and hear them out. Talking about problems usually helps people feel better and get it off their chest. Give advice and ways to help, such as giving them your phone number or shelters that can help them. Donate to shelters so they can increase their service and help the victims and survivors. If you are in a relationship, you should always make sure that it is healthy and you feel safe. You do not want anything like this to happen to you. Always lend an ear to anyone who is in troubling times or needs your help, and one by one, we can help prevent domestic abuse. There are many places that you can donate to and go to visit the victims or survivors. Some local places here in Baltimore are the Dorothy Daycare Catholic Worker and the Comfort House. Many places that are working to end domestic violence are the Domestic and Sexual Violence and the Battered Women's Justice Project. Going to visit these people in these shelters can help brighten their day and make them feel that they are not alone in their process of healing and getting stronger. These places help the victims and survivors get back on their feet and learn how to protect themselves and know when they are not safe. Solidarity fits our topic because many people get domestically abused every day. Once they are stronger and are survivors, they come together and they think of ways to prevent domestic abuse, so more people going through the pain they went through will have help. Many shelters also help both men and women who have been domestically abused because everyone deserves an equal amount of help. A wide variety of people also agree that domestic abuse in the world needs to be prevented, including my group and I. Thank you.